later, you will learn how to import this character into Character Animator, and it will mirror your movements and expressions so that you can make a small film or animation. The first step, though, is just getting the file set up exactly correctly. So I'm in Photoshop, and I'm going to click on New File. And I'm going to name this file with the name of my character, who is going to be Clifford. And for my size, I'm going to go with 3000 pixels by 3000 pixels and 72 pixels per inch. And for my background contents, I'm going to choose transparent. Okay, once you've got the name of your character, 3000 pixels, you want to make sure this is pixels, not inches, 3000 pixels by 3000 pixels, 72 DPI, and background contents transparent, click on Create. All right, so one thing that is really important when you're making a character is keeping the layers very organized and correctly labeled, because if the layers are labeled exactly correctly, everything will be easier later on when we import this file into Character Animator. So I'm going to go to Layer, and I'm going to say New, but I don't just want a new layer, I want a new group. And so I'm going to give this group my character's name. I'm going to do plus character and then Clifford, okay? And it's going to be very, very, very important that I can see my layers while I'm doing this. So I'm going to go to Window, Layers, make sure all my layers are very visible, because, and I can't say this enough, having the layers super organized and super well labeled is a game changer with this particular activity. Okay, so now I'm going to make 2 more groups of layers. So I'll go to Layer, New, Group, and this first group is going to be called Head. Okay, and I'm actually going to drag that into the character file. So you should see that the head group is under the character group. And then I'm going to make another group, Layer, New, Group. And this one I'm going to call Body. And I'll click on OK. And as you can see, both head and body are inside character, but I want head on top. So I'm going to move, oops. I want to move this. No, that's not what I wanted. Okay, that's actually fine with head on the bottom. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to click on head, and I'm going to create a new layer inside head. So I'll go to Layer, New. If you want to start learning the shortcuts, you can do Command Shift N. There we go. And this first layer inside head, I'm just going to call head background. Okay. And for this, I'm just going to make a little shape. So I'll go over here to my shape tool. If you're unfamiliar with Photoshop, one thing you should know is that if you do a left click on the shape tool, you get different options for shapes. So I would like a ellipse, but you don't have to do an ellipse if that's not the shape you want. And I'm going to choose a color for my character. Color obviously is associated with mood. And I'm kind of hoping that Clifford will be a very friendly, amiable character. So I'm going to go with a pink. And I'm just going to create a little head, or maybe a big head for Clifford. Okay, there we go. That's a little too wide. Let's go a little narrower. There we go. All right, so this is Clifford's head. I'm going to click on the move tool. So the move tool is in the upper left corner. Move this into the center of the page. There we go. And often Photoshop will kind of show you when you're right in the middle. There should be a little line that emerges. There we go. Okay. So now that I have my head background, I'm going to create another layer. And so that will be Command-Shift-N. And this one I am going to call right eyebrow. And I'm going to do a plus. So I'll do plus right eyebrow. Now, this is one of the first things that you'll notice is very tricky. When I make the right eyebrow, I'm going to put it on the left side. Now, if you think about this, it's not that crazy because if you think about the character's right eyebrow, the character's right eyebrow would be on my left side because I'm facing the character. So with this right eyebrow layer highlighted, I'm going to go to my shape tool and I'm going to make a rectangle here for the right eyebrow. And I don't want it to be pink, I want it to contrast, so I'll choose a dark purple color. I can fill that. Yes, I would like to rasterize it. And again, this is very easy if you are already familiar with Photoshop, but if something's hiding and you can't see it because the thing behind it is the same color as it, this little eye button here, if I click on this, this will make things disappear. So it's easier to see the eyebrow now that the head is gone, and then I'll make the head visible again. There we go, super. So that's my right eyebrow. Now, I want to make my left eyebrow just the same as it, a duplicate layer, and then over here where the layers are, click here and make this one say left eyebrow. And then we're going to go to our move tool. We're going to move that one over to the other side. And I'm just going to say this again because it's so important. The left eyebrow should be on the right side, and the right eyebrow should be on the left side because it's the character is facing us. Okay, so there we go. So now I have two matching eyebrows for my character. That's super. Okay, now for the next thing, we're going to make some more groups. So highlight the group that says head over here in your layers panel and go to layer, new, group. And this one, I want you to enter a plus and then right eye. Okay? This is a new group. And that went into the wrong place, but I want it under head. There we go. So now it's under head. And within right eye, I'm going to create a layer for the eyeball. So this one I'll write right eyeball. Okay. And for the right eyeball, I'm going to do a white ellipse. And as you were already expecting I would, I am putting it on the left side because this is the character's right. Okay, so there's my right eyeball. Super. Now I'm going to create another layer still inside this right eye group. And this one I'm going to start with a plus sign and do right pupil. Okay. And inside right pupil, I'm going to make a little black circle for the pupil. Okay. There we go. Now, you might be wondering why some of these start with a plus and some of them don't. It's actually really important. The ones that start with a plus sign are later when we animate this piece going to move, and the ones that don't start with a plus sign will be immobilized. So if it seems a little bit rigid that I have all these rules about how to name things, it's for a good reason. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make one more layer inside right eye. So I'll go to layer, new layer. And this one, I'm just going to write right blank. And here, I'm going to make a little rectangle that goes across the eye. And that rectangle will be the blink for this eye. Okay? So I've made a whole eye, and it maybe is a little bit on the basic side, but you can see I've got all the different parts. For the left eye, I'm not going to do it all again because I want them to be matching. I'm going to click down here where it says right eyeball, then I'm going to hold down shift so I can get the whole thing. Then I'm going to do Command C for copy and Command V for paste. And you can see now I have a new eye, okay? And this little eye down here, if I highlight all of those layers, use the move tool to move it back up into place. Okay, that looks good. Almost. And then, and I can't overstate how important this is, I'm going to rename these files. Okay? So instead of saying plus right eye, now it will say plus left eye. The right blink is going to say left blink. The right pupil is going to say left pupil. The right eyeball is going to say left eyeball. Okay? All right, so this is really fabulous. I have a character now. Eyes, eyebrows. What else do we need? A nose is going to be really important. So I'm going to create a layer for that. Go to layer, new, layer, enter plus nose. Okay. And within here, I'm going to use the shape tool to make a little nose. I think a triangle maybe feels better to me. So I'm going to give my character a little nose. Okay, there we go. And that doesn't feel like the right color. Let's try a red nose. Totally okay to rasterize it and make it red. Okay. So far, all of the features of the face that you have created are things that you've made yourself. But the next thing we're going to make is a mouth, and mouths are quite difficult to make in an animation. So everybody should have received from me a file that says CH Mouth Pack. And what you'll see if you open up this file is all these different mouths. And so to put the mouth in here, I opened the mouth from this file over here where it says mouth 1 PSD. I just clicked on that. It will open in Photoshop. And then I'm going to take this. So I'm going to highlight all these layers, move them over here into Clifford. Okay. And then what you will notice about this is that the mouth has an enormous number of layers. I need to move them all together. So I'm going to hold down shift and then I'm going to click here. And I am going to move all those mouth layers over here at the same time. So they should all be highlighted while you're moving them like this. Now you might be wondering why is it so hard to make a mouth? Why aren't I having you make your own mouth? This software will actually read your lips effectively. It will kind of listen to the sounds you're making, and then the lips will follow that movement. And so within the mouth, each of these different layers makes a different sound, like duh, etc. And when you talk, your character will move its lips, but it's really hard to make all those different layers. So that's why I gave you a mouth to put in there. Okay, so I'm going to close that up now. And that is my character's face. Okay? So super. So I'm going to click on this little mark here to close that folder. And now I'm going to move on to working on the body. And for the body, we're going to start by making just a basic torso. I'm going to go in here, and I would like any lips. Obviously, I need a new layer. And I'll call this layer torso. Okay. Create a torso. Now again, some of these things will be really familiar to you if you're used to using Photoshop, but if I move around this torso, I can see when it's perfectly centered on the face. Okay, so that looks really nice. Now it's exactly where it should be. Okay. And my next layer here will be a neck. And for that, I want the same color as the skin. So if you want to use the same color twice, you can go over here on the left and use the eyedropper tool to pick up a color. And then I'm going to make a little shape for the neck. This is going to go on top of the other shapes, but I'll move it behind later. Okay, so I'm going to move the neck behind the torso now. There we go. And it's good. We should also create some arms. So I'll create a new layer for, I'm going to label this one plus right arm. Okay. And first I'll just make the arm shape itself. Then I'll do Command T and rotate it a little bit. You kind of want the arms to be almost like in an A-frame kind of shape. So that's a good arm now. And I'll use the move tool to put it on the body. Great. And I'm going to use this little freeform pen tool to make a hand. So do a left click on the freeform pen tool, then click this one. And then I'm going to draw. You don't actually have to draw the hand the right size in the beginning if that feels intimidating to you, so long as you make something that's kind of like a hand. And then you can fill it with the right color. Okay. There we go. Now I have a hand. It's not a very good hand, but this is just about learning. I am going to actually merge that. Well, first I'm going to resize the hand. So I'll do Command T. I'll make the hand the right size. And I'll rotate it so it's at a good angle. And then I'm going to move this hand down here. Okay, and then I'll move the arm in front of that shape. then highlighting the one that has the hand in it and the one that says plus right arm, those two layers should both be highlighted. Then I'm going to go over here to layer and to merge layers. So now they're one shape. So that's great. So that's my right arm. I will create a duplicate of that layer. So layer, new, layer via copy. And then obviously I need to create a mirror image. So then I'll go to edit. Under edit, go to transform, then go to flip horizontal. Now we've got two hands. I'm going to use my move tool to bring it over here. And these little purple guides that show up kind of give you a sense of when the arms are lined up. So that looks pretty good to me. That's like in the same spot. That looks great. There we go. So I've got two arms, but rather critically, I do want the right and left arms to be on the correct sides. So this layer over here that says right arm, that's on the left side, which I'll just say this again as a reminder, left is right and right is left in this activity. But this one that says right arm copy, we want that one to say left, oops, start with plus sign, left arm, because that's our left arm. Okay. I know there's a lot of steps in this activity. We're almost there. I'm going to create some legs really quickly down here. We're not going to be animating the legs, so they can be kind of short. It doesn't matter. It's totally fine. You just need legs. And oops, that's in the wrong spot. So this is actually, I made a mistake, but it's a teachable moment. Do you see how this layer I made was up in the wrong spot? I'm going to move this layer down so that it's inside the body group, because it's very important that everything is very organized. And I'm going to click on this and I'm going to say right leg. And then I'm going to do another shape, just like a really simple shoe. You can see I'm not worrying too much about what the character looks like. I'm just trying to create something that illustrates the idea. There's my little foot. I will click on right leg and on that shape, and then I'll go to layer and I'll merge those shapes. So now I'll rename them plus right leg. And then I'm going to create a new version of that layer. And go to edit, go to transform, go to flip horizontal, go to the move tool, move this other leg over, and label it left leg. All right, there we go. So, from a purely artistic point of view, this character may not have anything particularly special going on with it, but what I want to point out is that it is organized really well, so later when we want to animate it, we should be able to. I'm going to do one more thing here before we leave here, and this is kind of optional, but it's just something fun. If you want to give your head some hair, we can, over under head, create a new layer. And here I'm just going to write hair. For this, I would want to use my drawing tool. So I'll just make a cool shape for the hair. I'm not being super perfectionistic here. I'm just making a shape. And there's some hair. I'll get a bit a different color. Fill that. Okay. Okay. All right, there we go. All right, good. All right, so this is Clifford. In the next video, I will teach you how to make Clifford into an animated character, but everything you have here so far should be correct for this stage of the game. And obviously, you always want to save your files. So I'm going to save this as Clifford. I'm actually going to save it both to the Creative Cloud. I'll call it Clifford Puppet. And I'm also going to save it to my desktop, which will make it easy to import into Character Creator. So I'll do File, Save a Copy. Oops, in just a minute. File, Save a Copy, and Clifford Puppet copy on my computer. I want to save it on my computer as a PSD file. That's a Photoshop file, because if I were to save it as, say, a JPEG or something, it wouldn't work. So make sure where it says format here, it needs to say format Photoshop. That's absolutely critical. Okay, save. Okay. And that's it. In just a minute, when I click out of Photoshop, I will see my little Clifford puppet, who is now on my desktop. Let's just double check. And there you go. So now Clifford down here is ready to be imported into my Character Animator project.